Forgive me for being a couple of minutes late. I just had to take care of a couple of things really quick, but I hope everybody's doing well. As always, please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for being here. Let's give it a few minutes and let's wait to see who joins these 1 a.m. streams. I don't have any specific topics, rather, I just wait to see if anybody has any general things they want to talk about. I'm doing well, your local Spurs fan. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Well, get yourself to sleep. That's the most important thing. You don't have to stay up on my account, I promise you. I'll have many more live streams, so I would not worry about it too much. But I do appreciate you being here, even for a few moments. Well, you should get sleep. Getting sleep is way more important than whatever I'm up to here, that's for sure. In 1 week, I'm going about 1 week, give or take. I guess about a week and a half, 10 days, I will be in beautiful United Kingdom. I absolutely cannot wait to be there. I cannot wait to see my family. I cannot wait to see a bunch of the Masonic buildings there. It's going to be an absolute blast, so I really can't wait. And obviously, while I'm there, it's going to be a bit of a vacation, so I won't really be doing anything on this channel. But I will be posting, clips and videos and pictures on my personal social media accounts. So all of my friends, including everybody here, can follow me. And check it out. No worries. I just appreciate you being here. Your presence is gift enough, believe me. Everybody understands or should understand, if you're on YouTube, having an audience show up regularly, that's the most important thing. There's also ways you can gift in terms of sharing with other people, sharing the stream, sending it to a friend. All that stuff matters big time. Courtney, how's it going? Thank you for joining. How's your night treating you? I hope it's going well. Fine morning it is. It's always a fine morning when I'm with my audience, when I'm live streaming. Let's give it a bit more time. As I was saying, please take a moment if you're new to hit like and subscribe. And let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to see them. Ghostface. I think you've been on the stream before, right? As someone who loves Scream. Very much looking forward to the upcoming Scream movie. I appreciate having a ghost face here. Yes, it's going to be a wonderful visit indeed. 100%. I cannot wait. But Ghostface, you've been on stream before, right? Maybe you haven't been on before. I could have swore you've been on stream before. Maybe it's another Ghostface. My name is Cameron Adamson. I talk about Freemasonry. Any questions you have about Freemasonry, any thoughts, comments, ideas, if you don't know what it is, even better. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to describe what it is. I'd be even happier if you hit the like and subscribe button. But let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, ideas about Freemasonry. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Thank you, Ghostface. That's very kind of you. Are you a fan of scary movies? I'm assuming that is why you got the Ghostface title and your profile pic. Well, not to be one of those people, but what's your favorite scary movie? Mine is Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I'm going to assume your favorite scary movie is Scream, but which of the Screams is the question? For me, Scream 4, the best. So good. Just giving it a bit more time, waiting to see who joins. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. Not sure. Oops, let me just change that. There we go. What is Wolf King about? Never heard of that before. I'm assuming Wolf King, it's about werewolves, is going to be my assumption, at least, until I hear otherwise. Just hanging out, waiting to see who else jumps in the chat to say hello. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Again, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. Has he been here? I don't know. Talk more. Well, it's hard to talk until I get some people on the chat to say hello. Although obviously talking does get more people in the chat. This is Square and Compass Promotions. Again, the purpose is to talk about Freemasonry and answer any questions people have. Actually, the purpose is to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it is located. But these 1 a.m. streams, 1 a.m. Eastern streams, really, I just wait to see if anybody jumps in the chat and has any questions. Yes, the Freemasons, Vincent Vega. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So I don't know everything about Freemasonry by any means. However, I have tried to dedicate a good portion of my life to learning more about it and being the best Freemason I can be. So maybe you have you have some questions or thoughts. Well, I usually go online for about 2 to 4 hours, starting 1 p.m. Eastern, and then again for about 1 hour at 1 a.m. So probably 5 hours altogether. So really not that long, but I still love, I enjoy it whether I'm on for 1 minute, 1 hour, or 5 hours. Yes, introduce me to the concept like I'm a baby. Well, hopefully you're not a baby because I'm hoping you can hit the like and subscribe button. Having said that, the concept of Freemasonry, it is, I mean, the concept is it's a social club, it's a social organization, it's a civic club or civic group. No different than any other club or group, right? It's ultimately serving the same purpose to fulfill the need we have for brotherhood and connection within society. It evolved from stonemason guilds in the Middle Ages. Initially, you had stonemasons and stonemasonry in the 15th and 16th century. And then over time, many of these guilds or trade unions started to develop social aspects to them beyond simple operative training people to be Freemasons. And then over time, they became what we would call speculative Masonic lodges. So think clubs or groups that evolved from trade unions in the Middle Ages, particularly um, stonemasonry and stonemasons. I mean, I don't know if I would use the term enjoy Al Babek. I don't think enjoyment is quite the right term, but I found it very moving as I do every year. My favorite scary movie and my favorite movie, Ghostface, are one in the same. It is Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. If men are equal, why the ranks? I assume, Mad Dog, you're asking why the ranks specifically within Freemasonry. However, you could ask that same question about any organization. Why have different ranks in the military? Why have different ranks in medicine? Right? You have residents to attendings. Why have different ranks in corporations, directors, managers, presidents, vice presidents? Ultimately, it's to reward merit and preserve order, right? There are times when decisions need to be made. You need somebody who can make that decision based on experience, knowledge, and merit. And so ranks are necessary for that, right? If you have a Masonic lodge and there are no ranks, it'd be very hard to kind of have an ordered meeting. And it's also important because sometimes ranks are not about outranking people, but rather about assigning responsibilities. So, for example, the rank of a junior warden, really, not even so much a rank, it's an office and it assigns a certain responsibility to it. Or the rank of warden is a way to look at it. I cannot go outside, A, because it's cold, B, because it's at night, and C, because I'm in an apartment complex. Um, I do not know what BOFA is, King Potts. Very sorry. Why do Freemasons have well, I mean, Freemasons have that connotation because we're not a secret group, but there is a private element to our ceremonies. The reason being to maintain the bonds of brotherhood between the brethren. Um, Unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, different groups which have private qualities to them are just natural target for conspiracy theorists. Unfortunately, it's also an easy way to make content in 2025. But even before that, right? If you're looking for somebody to blame or a group to blame, it was easy to kind of cast aspersions toward Freemasons. Or sometimes they'd cast aspersions based on ethnicity, sometimes religious affiliations, sometimes political affiliations, and sometimes social groups or clubs. It's just the nature of human beings that sometimes when they're struggling, they look for a boogeyman. Do I think we can live or can not exist without a hierarchy? I mean, I think human nature, and I think this is true not just in humans, but in many animals as well. There does need to be hierarchies. So long as the hierarchy is based on merit, that's the key, right? And unfortunately, throughout history, there's been many times in human history where hierarchies have not been based on merit, but have been based on improper things like race or sex or creed or whatever it is. This idea of a certain race gets to be on top of the hierarchy, others less. So that's not okay. But I do think in order to accomplish things, accomplish goals, every sports team needs a captain, needs a head coach. Every, ship needs a captain, needs a first officer. I do think we do need some type of hierarchies, so long as it's being based on merit, though. That's what matters the most. I mean, there's similar to fraternities, Cram. There is sorority side of Freemasonry as well, um, right? There is the Order of Women Freemasons or the Eastern Star. However, I think thinking about it as a fraternity, Cram, is a good way to think about it. By the way, Cram, Nino, I don't know why I remind you of your mom, but your mom must have been a handsome lady. Please hit like and subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. And even consider doing a super chat of 99 cents would be very helpful. LeBron, I mean, for me, the GOAT of basketball is MJ, but I don't really follow a lot of basketball, to be perfectly fair. So, um, I'm not the best person to kind of base that on. Thank you, everybody who has joined. Once again, it has been truly appreciated. Please, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Again, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. Obviously, MJ is the GOAT. I would agree with that. Again, for me, the greatest professional athlete of all time has to be Muhammad Ali. I don't know how you argue against that, in my humble opinion. But that's just my humble opinion. It's gotta be, what's the name? It's gotta be Muhammad Ali. Who checks the Masons? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Mad Dog. I mean, mess up in what manner? So, obviously, we are Freemasons, but we're first and foremost citizens of, in my case, Canada, United States. Wherever we live, we're citizens there first and foremost. So if we mess up, as in we break the law, then I mean the police would check us or the authorities. And if I, as a Mason, find out my brother has broken the law some way and you know is going to get away with it, then I'm actually have a responsibility to inform the police. One of the things we're taught very early on within Freemasonry is we are not to keep the secrets of a brother if those secrets relate to criminal activity or anything of that nature. If they mess up in a Masonic content, so for example, they mess up ritual or they're not fulfilling their obligations within a lodge, well then it's up to the Masons or the worshipful master of the lodge to deal with the situation. In the same way, if you're a member of a sports team, like if you're a member of a football team, and you're not showing up for practice or you're messing up the plays, it's up to the coach and the team to check you and let you know how you're messing up and how to improve. Taco, how's it going? You could argue that. You could argue Mike Tyson is better than Muhammad Ali. I would not argue that, but others could. For me, it's Muhammad Ali. Right. He set what it was to be a professional athlete, in my opinion. So, Mad Dog, I hope that made sense. If it didn't, I can try to answer again. Once again, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're new to the stream especially, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'd even consider doing a 99-cent super chat just to help out. No, I appreciate these questions very much. That's why I love coming on stream, is to talk about and answer any questions people have to the best of my ability. As I said, I've been a Freemason since 2007, so almost 20 years. I don't know everything. about Freemasonry. I don't pretend to know everything about Freemasonry. And, I try as much as possible whenever I don't know something to look it up and to research it. I do think one of the skills, one of the benefits, one of the things you learn being a Freemason for so many years is it's not about knowing everything about Freemasonry. That's not the case. Rather, it's about knowing how to research Freemasonry and what is a legitimate source versus an illegitimate source, right? So I don't know everything about Freemasonry, but I do know if I need to find an answer, the legitimate sources and where they are. Right? A lot of people, they've never been a Freemason and they'll think they're doing research, but the truth is they are not doing research, right? They don't have the skills, the ability, the knowledge, the history to know and to properly understand what is an accurate source versus an inaccurate source. So, for example, the Moloch stuff is a perfect example of that. We in Freemasonry do not worship a Moloch. I've never heard that in any legitimate sources. In all of my Masonic meetings and events, over 1,000, never seen a Moloch. However, a lot of illegitimate sources will imply that we worship, Moloch, or I've heard other ones as well. One that starts with B, I can't think of the name now. Some owl one. But that's the point. If you've never been a Freemason and you've not dedicated your life to it, anything you see online is going to seem legitimate, right? It's the experience of being a Freemason and being active in Freemasonry that allows me to understand kind of what is a legitimate source and an illegitimate source. I have no idea what this means in terms of being a Packers fan. Green Bay? Because I'm a CFL fan. Go Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But I can assure you, Dixon, I am a Freemason since 2007. So Peter Stone, Freemasonry is not Fight Club. I think you're getting us confused with Fight Club. I think you're watching too much Fight Club. So you're not wrong, Mad Dog. I think one of the biggest mistakes we made within Freemasonry for years was not being as open as we could have been about the good that we do, both for our membership, the community, and charity. We are working on changing that. The Masonic Charitable Foundation out of England, for example, has some amazing public outreach efforts, as do many Masonic lodges. A lot of it's on social media. What I would suggest, actually, Mad Dog, if you want to learn more about our public outreach efforts within Freemasonry across many jurisdictions, I've actually written about those efforts on Medium and provided several links to public-facing newsletters, websites, email blasts, all of which talk about the good that is done by Freemasonry. I think there was a time for much of Masonic history when we were very open. It's really in the 50s, it's really in the 60s and 70s that this greater emphasis was placed on being secret and secretive. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But I think it was the wrong approach to take. What degree? Well, I'm not going to show you. First of all, I'm not going to confirm whether there is or is not any handshake. I will say there's modes of recognition. And the reason I won't show you the modes of recognition is because maintaining the privacy of those modes of recognition is a way to maintain the bonds of brotherhood between our brethren. No 33rd has a list. I don't know what you're talking about, Dixon, but that's not how it works. So I don't know much about Scientology. I get asked that question a lot. To my understanding, if you're a Scientologist, you could be a Freemason because you believe in a supreme being. However, I've never met a Scientologist who's a Freemason, and it's really something I know very little about. Skull and Bones, it's a fraternity out of Yale. You could argue we are connected in that we're both kind of private or fraternal organizations, historically fraternal organizations. Um, we both have private elements, but we're not the same organizations. We're all different. Um, Not lately. I've been trying to reread Morals and Dogma at the moment, but I always recommend for somebody who wants to learn more about Freemasonry, a great place to start is a very good place to start is Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. Um, uh, so that is not the case at all, Joshin. Can anyone join? So to join, and I'm going to speak about the fraternal side of Freemasonry at the start, though there is the Order of Women Freemasons. But to join, you first need to be a man. To join the fraternal side, you need to believe in a supreme being. That supreme being is up to you, and you need to be of the proper age. In Ontario, it means you need to be over 21. Mostly in the States, it's over the age of 18. After that, I mean, there's financial requirements, but it's usually very inexpensive, for better or worse. I find dues are between $100 to $200 a year, yearly dues. Um, so yeah, I think that is kind of the requirements. And again, even though I say, there you have to be a man, there also is the Order of Women Freemasons, there's Eastern Star, there's Rainbow. Um, Hold on just one second. Christopher asked to see the ring. I can show you the ring. Just give me one moment. Let's see if I can find my ring. Now, you want to be really careful um, when it comes to rings because just because somebody has a ring doesn't mean they're a Freemason, and you're not automatically granted a ring when you join, right? That's not how it works. You can buy these rings at pawn shops for cheap. Also, you maybe had a father or a grandfather who was a Freemason, left you their ring and you want to wear it to remember your father, that doesn't mean that you are a Freemason. So if you see somebody wearing a Masonic ring, don't automatically assume they're a Freemason. You still have to, if you're a Freemason yourself, you still have to ask them for confirmation that they are a Freemason. But here you go. That is my ring, came from my father. Um, what's the benefit of joining a lodge? I mean, ultimately, there is, I always say this now, there is no benefit to joining a Freemason for the individual. Or at least you should not think in terms of the benefit I can get, because it's not about that. I've always said the benefit to joining a Masonic lodge is it gives you the opportunity to try and build a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. It gives you the chance to join something that helps make the world a better place or tries to. Having said that, you will meet people you would not have met otherwise. You'll meet friends or make friends. You can develop certain skills, especially in the area of public speaking, memorization, um, as well as meeting administration. Um, some people join because they want to be closer to their family and they had family members who were Freemasons. A lot of times people would join maybe because they're new to a country or community and want to make friends. There's many different reasons why people join and get things out of it. Ultimately, though, I think the reason and the benefit to join is out of a desire, or should be out of a desire, to build a better world. Um, you could also argue that the core benefit of being a Freemason is the same as the core benefit of being part of any group, which is fulfilling that human desire and human wish to belong to something bigger than yourself and greater than yourself. Um, but that's true. I mean, that's just the nature of human beings. Since as long as humans have existed, there have been a desire to form groups and clubs and organizations. It exists in the time from when we're kids and form our first clubhouse at school, throughout history. And whether it's joining Freemasonry, joining a knitting club, joining a sports team, in some cases joining the military, it's all trying to fulfill that same desire. Freemasonry is not the largest criminal organization in the world. In fact, one of the things we're taught very early on within Freemasonry is if anyone is trying to or commits crimes, or we learn of somebody committing a crime, we are to advise the authorities immediately. We are not to, because if Masons are committing crimes within our lodge, then that brings the entirety of Freemasonry into disrepute, or certainly brings our lodge into disrepute. So we are taught, one of the Masonic philosophies is to be a good citizen. Um, and being a good citizen means not being a criminal. That is true. That is the first rule of Fight Club, a-hole. I hope you're not an a-hole. However, Freemasonry is not Fight Club. Um, there are not, Peter. What is the strongest substance in the world? The strongest substance in the world is brotherly love, relief, and truth. If you get into a lodge, you may get connections if you join a lodge. I mean, that's not a guarantee. There was a time when Freemasonry was significantly, more a larger organization with way more members, and as a consequence, a lot of people would join a Masonic lodge because they wanted to find connections. Maybe they wanted to run to be mayor of their town or something. And as a consequence, they would want to join the Masonic lodge to get those connections. Actually, there used to be a derisive term for men like that, men who would join every Masonic and civic and civil organization in their community. They were called Barry the Joiner. This was in the 1920s. And they would be the guy who joined the Masons, the Moose, the Elks, the Rotary. They'd be on every board, PTA. And it was about trying to be the big man in like a small town and be part of every different organization. Um, I do not, Mexicana, I do not drink blood, nor do any Freemasons. Can you lose your membership? You can. I mean, you can choose to just like leave Freemasonry. The term is demit if you are no longer interested in being a Freemason for whatever reason. You can lose your membership that way by just walking away from the craft, or you can stop paying your yearly dues, which again, usually between 1 and 200, in which case you'll be suspended. Or, if, for example, you were to commit a crime, be found guilty of committing that crime, um, they may choose to revoke your membership. So as again, not to bring the craft into disrepute. Um, Even if you're high up, many people do just walk away, chosen one. I mean, I can't walk away because I have no legs. I'd have to wheel away. However, many Freemasons choose to leave Freemasonry for a variety of reasons, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. Um, the next time tomorrow, I'll be attending a lodge tomorrow, not the lodge. You don't want to think about it in terms of the, think a, because there's multiple lodges. There's no single lodge. I'll be attending a Masonic lodge tomorrow. Um, Pete Gone. By the way, to everybody watching this, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly, truly appreciate it. Um, the biggest misconception about Freemasonry, Pete Gone, 100%. And I think if we could solve this misconception, a lot of conspiracy theories would be solved as well. The biggest misconception is that there is a single governing body that controls Freemasonry on a global scale, right? Freemasonry is not a global entity, it's jurisdictional. The jurisdiction under which I operate in Ontario is different than the jurisdiction um, jurisdiction of Texas, jurisdiction of England, in Israel, in Louisiana, in Mexico, in Brazil. It's different jurisdictions. So Texas Freemasons are under a different set of rules and constitutions than Freemasons in Ontario. Same thing with, I mean, every state in the United States. So that's the biggest misconception. It's not the same everywhere. It's different. It's jurisdictional. Mexicana, there is not. I've never met a satanic Mason. I don't have metal legs. I have a wheelchair. So, Mad Dog, one of the things within Freemasonry that is a rule is we are not allowed to discuss politics or religion within a Masonic lodge. Having said that, there are many Masons who are active within their churches, and there are times when there may be volunteer overlap. So, for example, a church may be holding a special event and Masons may come out to support it, or a mosque. Or you may have situations where a church or a mosque comes and does a presentation or uses a Masonic building, even. I mean, Freemasonry is around the world. I've heard of those things happening at various places around the world. But Freemasons, we are taught um, not to be a reviler of any religion. I'm not sure what you mean by they chosen one. Um, I'm sorry about your father being killed. That sucks. But I've known many Masons who walked away. They're still walking around today. So I guess what I'd say is talk to the police. I know about Texas. Texas Freemasonry is incredible. I love Texans. I love Texas in general, and I love Freemasons there. I've been honored and lucky enough to be able to visit Texas on a few occasions. Gonzales, Texas, primarily, as well as Dallas and Fort Worth primarily, but Gonzales, Texas, on a couple of occasions. Um, what do you mean by esoteric practices? I mean, if by esoteric, Luz, vertical, you mean private, then there does exist within Freemasonry private ceremonies and rituals. Their privacy or the esoteric nature of them um, allows us to maintain the bonds of brotherhood or strengthen those bonds. So there is that, if that is what you're referring to. Jack says hi. Hello, Jack. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. And let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Um, Not quite the same. That's a funny play on words, Cram, but it's not quite the same. Um, the idea of a Masonic lodge and a Masonic club and a golf club. Well, so you can have that. I actually do know in Ontario of one such situation because there is the Order of Women Freemasons and there is obviously the fraternal side of it. So that can happen. More often, certainly in Canada, though, far more frequently, what you have is the Order of Eastern Star, in which you often have men and women part of the same Masonic group or same Masonic order, which is the Order of Eastern Star. Um, but those things can happen. I'm a go. Keep your secrets. Oh, we've got the meme, the Lord of the Rings meme. Thank you, Cram. Before you go, don't forget, hit like, subscribe. Consider, if you will, doing a 99-cent super chat. That would be most appreciated indeed. But the Order of Eastern Star is a Masonic order for both men and women. Usually it's for women who are related to a Mason. Could be wife, mother, daughter, sister, though that has been in some cases expanded. So, and again, there's also the Order of Women Freemasons as well. Um, I know you're not. I appreciate you being here very much. Um, Thank you for joining. Well, everybody joins freely, Mexicana. One of the kind of standard ideas within Freemasonry that's so important is that you are joining of your own free will and accord. Um, So I don't know what you mean by ordinary. I mean, within Freemasonry, you could argue we're all ordinary people, right? We're all on the level equal to one another. Whether you have a janitor or a president, within the lodge, they are all equal. Um, as Masons. One, you may have a situation where the janitor is the worshipful master, the president is an entered apprentice, in which case the worshipful master outranks, quote unquote, the president. What's the meaning behind the symbol of the Eastern Star? Um, um, so it's the five-pointed star. It's meant to represent five virtues and five women of the Bible. Ruth, Esther, I can't remember the names now. I'd have to look it up again, but it's five biblical virtues and five women within the Bible. But I can't remember which five women now. I think Mary is one. If I recall correctly, Mary, Esther, Ruth, I think. Um, I can't think of them all now. And each one has a corresponding virtue. So, Mad Dog, I mean, any money from my channel goes to me, or more particularly, goes to Square and Compass Promotions. So, one of the goals with this channel, the reason I started this channel, is my desire to turn passion into profession. I'm very passionate about Freemasonry, and I want to be able to create a professional endeavor whereby I'm able to earn a living by talking about and creating content about Freemasonry. So any, donations to this channel, it goes to helping Square and Compass Promotions. Help me create more content and talk more about Freemasonry, the thing I love. But Mad Dog, I also do have PayPal. So you can access my PayPal through info at squareandcompass.ca. But yeah, like I said, the purpose of this channel is um, to turn my passion for Freemasonry into profession. Um, Gunther Mo, Freemasonry is a civic or social group or social club that um, um, what was I saying? It's a civic or social group. It evolved from stonemason guilds of the Middle Ages and turned from basically a trade guild into a social club for men to gather in fellowship. But think social club, social group. By the way, the five women that are represented by the Eastern Star symbol are actually Ada, Ruth, Esther, Martha, and Electa. Not Mary. I was wrong about that. Ada, Ruth, Esther, Martha, and Electa, representing fidelity, constancy, courage, faith, and love. Welcome, Gunter. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it very much. I hope that you are doing well. Well, you can't join online. You can definitely go online to find like whom to contact and potentially to even fill out an application. But usually at the start, it's not about an application. You just fill out a form expressing a desire to become a Freemason or at least learn more about it. That's online. But to actually be a Mason, you have to actually do stuff in person. There has to be some in-person visits and there has to be an in-person initiation. The fees, there are fees, but it changes. It's different based on where you live and where you're joining. I know some places where the fee is as little as $40 a year. Where I know other places, there's a one-time fee of $500 and then it's $300 per year to join. So the fees are dependent on where you live and how much it costs to operate Freemasonry. For example, a small town where there's a Masonic building that, let's say, meets on the second floor of, let's say rents out space above a general store in some small town, they may charge $40 a year. Whereas if you're a lodge meeting in New York, You might be paying a couple hundred per year because it's going to be more expensive to rent out space and hold events there. Honestly, Gunter, the benefits are the same as the benefit of any other social club, right? Human beings want to be part of a social group, want to be part of a social club. It's in our nature. But being a Freemason, it puts you in a privileged position to help make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Um, so don't think about the benefits to yourself. Think about rather what you can contribute to the world through Freemasonry. Um, but certainly you'll get to meet people. You'll learn skills and abilities around public speaking, how to manage meetings. You learn a lot of administrative skills that can actually come in handy in, certain jobs, especially if you have the type of job that requires you to administer or run meetings. But it's fulfilling that human desire for fellowship and companionship. When Aristotle said man is a political animal, he didn't mean that we're Republicans or Democrats or left or right. He meant we're political in the sense that we want to form groups and unions and organizations, and then set structures within those groups. If what I said made any sense at all. I mean, I don't think Freemasons make the world a worse place. There are definitely individual Masons who are not good people. That's just the nature of being part of any group, which has humans. Not all humans are good, even the Masonic ones. But I do believe if one lives and acts in a manner that is consistent with Masonic philosophy, you'll make the world a better place. No, you don't have to be a philanthropist to be a Mason. I would argue um, there is charitable, certainly people who are more charitable with their time or understanding or forgiveness will probably make better Masons or will enjoy Freemasonry more. But you don't need to be a philanthropist to be a Freemason by any means. Um, you certainly should be charitable, though. I think charity is something that is encouraged within Freemasonry. Um, I mean, not all Freemasons get along, so certainly not all Masonic groups will get along. Again, human nature, right? Um, within the groups or individuals, there's going to be conflicts. It's about how you resolve those conflicts that matters. So when you talk about things like handshakes or knocks, what you're really talking about are modes of recognition. Um, and the reason I don't talk about the modes of recognition is Pete gone. It's kind of the same way. I've used this example before. Imagine, Pete, you had a family recipe. Um, the reason you're not going to share the family recipe online is not because there's anything nefarious or conspiracy laden with the cookie recipe. Rather, it's because maintaining the privacy of that recipe is a way for you to maintain the sense of brotherhood and fraternity with, a sense of brotherhood, or not even a sense of brotherhood. It's a way to maintain the bonds between the past and future generations of your family by keeping that recipe secret. We in Freemasonry, we have, our rings or whatever it is, but that stuff is not doesn't matter. What we truly pass on is our ritual, our modes of recognition. If I share them online, then it's in the same way sharing the recipe would, affect or mitigate the familial bonds that recipe protected. If I share the modes of recognition online, it mitigates or limits the bonds of brotherhood between past and future generations. That's always the way I describe it. Some conspiracy theorists use that idea against us and try to claim because we keep certain things private, they ascribe negative motives or negativity to that. But there are many reasons to keep things private. Sometimes it's for safety, sometimes it's for economic reasons, and sometimes it's to maintain the bonds of brotherhood between past, current, and future generations. So the Black Freemason groups are called Prince Hall. It was started around 1780 1787, if I recall correctly. I'm probably getting that date wrong. Prince Hall is a very wonderful part of the Masonic family throughout America, Canada, and the world. It's not that, again, I've sat in my Masonic lodge with men of all different races and ethnicities, Black, Asian, European, Indigenous, South American, right? Freemasonry is welcomes people of any race or religion or creed. However, unfortunately, due to attitudes at the time, in the late 1700s, that wasn't always the case. And so Prince Hall formed, or Prince Hall Freemasonry was formed. It still exists. If you are Black, you may, and you want to join Freemasonry, you may want to join, the traditional lodge, call it that, or you may want to join a Prince Hall lodge because Prince Hall has more history and relevance in some ways within the Black community. Either's fine. Either way, you're a Freemason. Either way, you are my brother. So, I mean, it's just saying there's a lot of different, again, Freemasonry is for men of all different races. Again, I've known Black or African American Freemasons. I've known Asian. I sat in lodge with them, with Asian Freemasons, with European, with South American, First Nations, from Africa. That's one of the greatest strengths, I think, of Freemasonry is that it is welcoming to different ethnicities, religions, languages, beliefs, politics, ages. I've said this before, but when I was joining Freemasonry, one of the things that struck me was just how many different accents I heard during my initiation, which indicated to me the obvious kind of welcoming nature of Freemasonry. Well, I mean, I would say because basically my entire life is Freemasonry at this point, the majority of my friends are Freemasons, but not every. I mean, I have plenty of friends who aren't Freemasons. There's no kind of requirement that all my friends be Freemasons. I would say if that was a requirement, Freemasonry would be a cult and I wouldn't want to join it. If they said like you can exclusively have friends who are Freemasons, that would be weird. Yes, I was just in South America and there are many Masons in South America. It's pretty awesome. Freemasonry in South America is actually doing quite well. As compared to other jurisdictions. Not my sense. Well, I'm sorry about that, Thatch. I guess what I would say my sense is everything I've seen indicates Freemasonry welcomes men of all different faiths and beliefs and ethnicities and races. Again, unfortunately, there was a time when that wasn't the case, and Prince Hall, in certain lodges, did not welcome men of different races, and that's unfortunate. That happened in Boston, but it's one of those things where I have a really kind of conflicted view of it because on the one hand, I'm never going to, support or like or be happy about a group being racist or people being racist, but as a consequence of that, Prince Hall Freemasonry was formed again, and I think it was 1787. And Prince Hall Freemasonry has been a wonderful part of the Masonic family. It developed its own traditions and rituals and history. And because of that, I'm grateful that Prince Hall Freemasonry exists, while also being saddened maybe as to the way it started, if that makes any sense. North Star most celebs, to my knowledge, are not Freemasons. I wish that wasn't the case, North Star. I wish more celebrities were Freemasons. I mean, I can think of a couple celebrities who are Freemasons off the top of my head. Shaquille O'Neal, Brad Paisley, but it's rare. It's incredibly rare. JR, I will watch all of your videos. Thank you, JF. But you can also hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell. What's the point of anything, Dr. Longfish? Not to be kind of a little bit facetious, maybe, but I mean, ultimately, at its core, the point of Freemasonry is the same as the point of any social group or social club or organization to fulfill the human desire for brotherhood, um, and to fulfill that human desire to be part of something bigger than oneself. Well, there's been bad Freemasons that exist, unfortunately. I wish I could say there wasn't, but human beings are human beings. Trump is not a Freemason, nor is Brad Pitt. I've never seen any evidence or indication that they are Freemasons. You got to be careful with, um, one of the dangers is kind of arguments in the verbs or the adjectives that you use. So saying many politicians are Masons, honestly, in my entire Masonic career, 20 years, I've known two Masons who are politicians, and that's at a city council level. Never anything beyond that. So, in my experience, the vast majority of politicians are not Freemasons. No, we are not a religion, Dr. Lawnfish. So we do not worship any entity as a unit. Every Freemason has his own belief in a supreme being. Whatever that supreme being is, that is whom they worship. Um, Not really literal trash. I mean, when we join, we are given the lodge bylaws, which will talk about things like when meetings take place, as well as dress codes, officer responsibilities, and we'll receive a constitution of the Grand Lodge, which talks about, the duties we owe to the Grand Lodge. Ultimately, though, and there is a list in there of what could be considered Masonic offenses, um, like failing to pay your dues, things like that. But I would say the ultimate commandment for a Freemason is found in the Anderson Constitution of 1723, I believe was the date, which is to be a good man and true. I think if you had to describe in one sentence what the ultimate requirement of a Freemason is, it's to be a good man and true. Um, I am in Canada, North Star. Go Canada. I mean, you don't have to have a job to be a Freemason. There are costs associated with being a Freemason. So you may have to have a job just to pay the yearly dues, which would be anything from $40 a year to $500 a year, depending on which lodge you join. But you don't have to have a job to be a Freemason. No worries, literal trash. To everybody watching this, please don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. If you're new to the stream, I consider doing a super chat of even 99 cents. Helps out big time. And thank you, Dr. Longfish. I mean, I do these streams, and then on top of that, I have semi-regular podcast episodes where I talk about Freemasonry. I also do shorts, things like that. So my supreme being, I'm not religious per se. My supreme being is, I believe the best way to understand the supreme being is the ordered and rational universe which we see and which can be understood through mathematical and scientific equations and understanding. The kind of the mathematical formulas that govern the universe would be my supreme being, um, if that makes any sense. So kind of spiritual, in some ways, more than literal. I would say, though, as a general rule, for the majority of the time, whatever the majority religious belief in a community is, that will kind of reflect onto the Masonic lodges in that community. So if the Masonic Lodge exists in a community and it's majority Christian, most of the Freemasons in the lodge will be Christian. If you're in Morocco, it's going to be Muslim. At least that's my experience. I hope that my supreme being explanation made sense. The great architect is usually how it's referred to. And thank you again for being here. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe, consider a 99-cent super chat. I'll be ending this stream soon. These 1 a.m. streams, I do them for about an hour. I am a 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason, Dr. Longfish, but really you don't want to think about it in terms of like degrees and hierarchies, because very often what you have with that is people get this misunderstanding that a 33rd degree is of a higher rank than like a third degree, which is not the case. The highest degree in Freemasonry, the degree that matters, is third degree. Anything beyond that, basically, you could think about them in terms of like honorifics. They're not actually, they don't grant you any type of extra authority in a Masonic lodge. Well, I'm glad it made perfect sense. I try my best. And thank you again, everybody who's been joining. It's actually been a really great stream. I've been loving it. I will be back on at 1 p.m. tomorrow. So in about 10 hours or so. Mr. Mason, indeed. How's it going with you, Belt? Thank you for joining. I'll be ending this stream shortly, but I'm glad you could jump on for a couple minutes to say hello. I greatly appreciate it. As always, anybody who's joining us for the first time, how does one go from first to third? Practice. Basically, the progression within Freemasonry, it's meant to, in some ways, symbolize or reflect the progression in actual stonemasonry. You join as an apprentice, then as you learn and grow more within the craft, you become a fellow craft, and then you become a master mason. So usually the way it works is when you feel you're given a set of questions and answers, you have to memorize the answers. You also oftentimes have to perform additional memory work. But when you feel as though you're ready, you approach the lodge. You can approach your sponsors or the master. Say that you feel like you've learned enough and you're ready to advance. You demonstrate your proficiency to the membership, and then you advance. Oftentimes it requires memorization work and public speaking. So a benefit of joining Freemasonry is if you're nervous about those things, this gives you the chance to really practice and hone those skills. I'm glad you missed me. Thank you for joining. As I was noting, I'm going to be traveling very soon, which is going to be wonderful. But part of travel means you're not going to be seeing some live streams for about a week, from the 23rd to the 28th, though I'll still try to post pictures and stuff just for fun. Welcome, everybody, though. Thank you again for being here. All right, I think we're about the hour in, so I'm going to end this stream. I'll be back on at 1 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have an excellent night, and I'll see you all soon.